Foreign by Carol and Duffy. Imagine living in a strange, dark city for 20 years. There are some dismal dwellings on the east side, and one of them is yours. On the landing, you hear your foreign accent echo down the stairs. You think in a language of your own and talk in theirs. Then you're writing home. The voice in your head recites a letter in a local dialect. Behind that is the sound of your mother singing to you, all that time ago, and now you do not know why your eyes are watering, and what's the word for this. You use the public transport, work, sleep. Imagine one night you saw a name for yourself sprayed in red against the brick wall. A hate name, red like blood. It is snowing on the streets under the neon lights, as if this place were coming to bits before your eyes. And in the delicatessen, from time to time, the coins in your palm will not translate. Inarticulate, because this is not home, you point at fruit. Imagine that one of you says, me not know what these people mean. It like they only go to bed and dream. Imagine that. Foreign by Carol and Duffy casts the reader as an alienated foreigner in the city they've lived in for 20 years. The poem begins with the speaker describing the reader's surroundings to them. It is written in the second person, meaning that you will be the main character. It is clear from the beginning that the character the speaker has created does not feel at home in this place. They think in a different language and struggle with their own foreign accent. As the poem continues, this person's world is developed further and fear is added into their life. There is a moment where they forget how to speak their second language, forget how to read coins, and are unable to understand the spoken word. This happens in tandem with you observing a derogatory slur written on the wall in spray paint, further alienating you from your place of residence. The poem ends with this person wondering what it would be like to peacefully drift off to sleep without wondering where and how they can belong. Structure of the poem. Foreign by Caroline Duffy is a four-stanza poem that is separated into sets of 5 lines or quintets. While this piece does not have any particular rhyme scheme, the lines are very consistent in length and the number of words used. This gives it an overall even and rhythmic sound and feel. Additionally, the poem is written in the second person. The poet has made use of this perspective in an effort to cast the reader into the role of foreigner that she has crafted. It also reads as if the speaker is attempting to convince the reader of something. It is likely that these are the poet's experiences, especially considering the insight into the emotions that the you in the story experiences. Perhaps she's hoping to make others understand. Poetic Techniques. Duffy makes use of several poetic techniques in Foreign. These include alliteration, imagery, caesura, and enjambment. The first, alliteration, occurs when words are used in succession or at least appear close together and begin with the same letter. For example, dismal dwellings in line 2 of the first stanza, or snowing and streets in line 4 of the third stanza. Imagery refers to the elements of a poem that engage a reader's senses. Traditionally, the word image is related to visual sights, things that a reader can imagine seeing. But imagery is much more than that. It is something one can sense with their five senses. There are several powerful examples in foreign, such as the description of the dark city in the first stanza and the name for yourself sprayed in red in the third stanza. These are both emotionally moving and mentally troubling representations of the themes of alienation and fear. Caesura occurs when a line is split in half, sometimes with punctuation, sometimes not. The use of punctuation in these moments creates a very intentional pause in the text. A reader should consider how the pause influences the rhythm of one's reading and how it might precede an important turn or transition in the text. The third line of the third stanza is a great example. It reads, "Against a brick wall, a hate name, red like blood." Another important technique commonly used in poetry is enjambment. It occurs when a line is cut off before its natural stopping point. Enjambment forces a reader down to the next line and the next quickly. One has to move forward in order to comfortably resolve a phrase or sentence. For example, the transitions between lines 3 and 4 of the first stanza and 2 and 3 of the second. In Spanish, we call it encabalgamiento. And in American English, instead of saying enjambment, you can also say a run-on sentence. Stanza 1. In this first stanza of this poem, the speaker asks of her readers to cast themselves into the position of her main character. She's going to describe a number of different experiences and emotions while referring to the person experiencing them as you. She first asked that the reader imagine they are living in a strange, dark city. They are not a new resident of this place, but somehow it remains strange. The main character of the poem has lived in this place for 20 years, in one of the dismal dwellings of the East Side. These places are at once separate and familiar to the speaker. Her main character knows where they live, but they do not feel they belong there. When this person, still being referred to as you, enters their home, they hear their own foreign accent echoing in the stairwell. Even though it has been 20 years, this person still feels out of place. Their accent has not changed, nor has the language they think in. This is another element that sets them apart. They speak one way and think another. Stanza 2. The day this person is living continues on until the moment they are writing home. Time has not made their current house anymore like home to them, and the only way they can access their home is through letter writing. Once more, there is a divide between the internal voice and the external. They write in their native language and recite it that way in their head, but outside of this context, there is no time for them to use it. These writings that the speaker is describing bring the main character to tears. You are reminiscing on the language you knows best, and these memories bring up the sound of this person's mother's voice. The speaker states that this person is unsure why they are feeling so emotional at this moment. To a reader, though, the loneliness and alienation are clearly being felt deeply. In the third stanza, the speaker describes what day-to-day life is like for someone who is completely foreign to the world they are living in. This person, still being referred to as you, is using public transport and working and sleeping. They're functioning, but it doesn't seem healthy. The poem takes a darker turn at this point, painting a world that is hostile towards you. The person who is the main character of the narrative comes upon a name for themselves, spray painted on a wall. This is a clear reference to some kind of derogatory term. The speaker is refraining from saying which one so that any reader is able to connect with this moment. In our case, here in Argentina, what usually can be seen in the streets or said in the popular bad speaking is Boliviano, as if it was an insult and it's just a word that indicates a nationality, or Sudaca for all of us South Americans who go around the world. The experience would be quite a fearful one and cause someone living in it to feel even more alienated. This character's world is described as coming to bits. The tiny parts of life that one could hold on to are slipping away. Their current home is turning against them. In the final stanza, the speaker describes you experiencing a moment where all understanding disappears. The world has been full of so much pressure, and the main character is overwhelmed by everything. At this moment, they are unable to understand coins in their hands. The markings no longer make sense. It is as if the world is fading away and getting harder and harder to understand. The same thing is happening to language in the following lines. You are now pointing at fruit, having forgotten the names. The loss goes further into everyday language. You are unable to understand what others are saying. In conclusion, the speaker states that you are astounded by other people, particularly those who are able to go straight to bed and dream without worrying about not belonging.